Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Welcome to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And you know, Bill, I'm really interested to talk with you today about media exposure, the truth behind it, and what the real goal is of people that, you know, it may seem counterintuitive at first that getting exposure for something that on its face might make you look bad is still the point and more important than what that bad news might be.
This is such a difficult discussion today because, I mean, our last episode, we really focused on, you know, how do we get branding and how branding works and how do you get exposure and how does a company do a better job of getting their product or service in front of people and stuff. And a lot of times the negative exposure, you know, will rise to the top of the equation or to the view set, even though that it's, wait a minute, I'm going to get enough eyeballs to get my name recognition high. And there was a joke that Bill Maher made one time. It says, hey, Kylie Jenner, you know, she made her, you know, millions of dollars by and didn't and has not done a sex tape. And it was funny to the audience because many people get their eyeballs by that. And then all of a sudden they're at their status of exposure. They're at that status of, you know, popularity and things. It's like, geez, that's a tough way to get exposure. So bad news or even controversial news, even if it's, you know, stupid or irrelevant or even damaging, is still okay.
That's just so disappointing in some ways, but it's really true. I mean, if you, depending on your goal, especially for, you know, political candidate for national office, what you need more than anything is name recognition.
Right. The goal is to be seen. That's it. Can I be seen
know
enough?
Your name. It doesn't maybe matter what your name
Can I be
is known
seen
for. Yeah. And so when we see some people being amplified by the media, and you might think, uh-oh, that's not good for him. Well, maybe not so fast. I mean, just being amplified by the media accomplishes that goal of name recognition. That may be really the ultimate goal of a lot of people.
Right. So, for example, if Al Franken would have gave a huge hard pushback about his picture as a professional comedian, getting a bunch of soldiers to laugh by taking that picture. This is not to justify the picture or the intent, but all of a sudden it's like that picture, if it was handled the way Trump or some of these other characters handle it, it's like, yeah, I was there, I did that, I'm a comedian, that's my job, I was making people laugh, it was poor taste, but it does not have anything to do with the integrity I have as a U.S. Senator.
Wow. I mean, that would have just taken all the air out of the.
I have integrity with the senator, and I'll take my lumps on this. I'll take my lumps on this because I was a professional comedian then. I was not thinking about running for office. I was not thinking about being a person that holds integrity. And integrity is a moment by moment thing. it is not something that I should be held accountable for way back then fully. Clearly, because now all of a sudden Brett Kavanaugh thing comes up. It's like, hey, I was 12 years old. I was 15 years old. I was a 15-year-old. And clearly accountability didn't work with that traumatic thing that he caused that woman. It seems like it's okay for the court, but it's not okay for Democrats or the senator. Now, see, this is where people are going to give, us pushback, because guess what we're doing? We're creating a conflict now. It's like the conflict is, what are you going to stand for? Or what are you going to make words and actions mean? And is it something that you're going to be tried in the court of a public opinion or the criminal court?
Right.
Which one of those things are you going to be tried in?
Well, and actually the prime example of the last, 6 years or so, or maybe 5 years now, is the Access Hollywood tape of Trump on the bus with Billy Bush. And clearly that was tried in the court of public opinion. And, the reality, as we've talked about before in debate, Hillary could have actually
Won the
taken Trump
presidency.
down.
One president, one line gives her the presidency. That's not what we need. We don't need a 15-year-old being a president. I guess, are you going to be a locker room guy when you're a president? Is that the kind of guy you're going to be? Is that the level of respect that it's okay to joke about women's genitals like that? And if she raises her level of forcefulness here, whatever he says next that that is dig back about her husband, she then gets to counter that by saying, I have him in line. Him and I have worked it out. How about you? Have you worked out your stuff from the past?
Oh, and do you know how powerful that would have been? Because what she is saying is she has gotten a former elected president in line. Boy, what kind of power does that put on her, that she has the power to get him in line? And I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and she could have, and that's why I'm more qualified for this job than you are. I know how to actually have a long conversation with somebody rather than talking sound bites. Now look at I just strang together 3-4 sentences that become press coverage.
Oh,
Hillary
yeah.
said this, Hillary said this, Hillary said this. And what does that get her? Votes. Shouldn't he have to travel anywhere because the press travels? That's one of the weird thing about TV and our current media environment, is that if something goes viral, it goes viral. It sets somebody's career up. It sells somebody's books. It puts somebody on Oprah. Just because you do this one viral thing, you get to move to the top of the list because people want to see the thing that went viral that everybody else was looking at. It's a weird environment. It's the question is, how do I get my name recognition? How do I get more exposure? And when I get that exposure, what am I going to do with this? I got exposure by, what are the new ways I can get exposure? If I get exposure, think how dark this one is. If I get exposure by rejecting vaccines, if I get name exposure, so 100, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 people die in my state, I don't care. I'm just getting exposure. I'm okay with that. These are unnamed people. I don't have to be in. I'm not held accountable for that. All I'm accountable for is getting a person limbic brain to agree with me. I just got to get their validated point of view to say, your name is something I will vote for because you stand for something similar that I do. And it's really, really unsettling because people don't want to, politicians know how expensive it is to buy an ad on TV, to pay for clicks on the internet, to advertise in newspapers when you can find them. I mean, people still read them, but it takes a lot to get that group of people. You need to be there because there's still people that read newspapers. They don't want to see it. They just want to read it. It's faster. I don't want to sit around and watch my cell phone.
It is faster and honestly seems much more effective. And the interesting thing is, it really doesn't matter, for the most part. I mean, obviously, I think somewhere out there there's a line that if you cross, it might be a third rail and you get in trouble. But we seem to be pushing that line further and further off in the distance. The goalpost keeps getting moved as to where that line is. But putting some message out there that's controversial is such an easy way to get all the media to give you this free exposure and get that name recognition.
Free exposure. Free exposure.
And that's what, somebody running for national office, I think, is often always trying to do. And we see politicians do this every week, really. And
Right.
And we have an example right now in front of us, actually related to this vaccine issue, Bill, that I want to share with our audience.
Sure.
And we've got the video clip in the blog post for this episode of purchasingtruth.com. So if you want to see it there, but Ted Cruz came out and attacked Big Bird, and so did other Republicans. But Ted Cruz is really the ringleader. He's the sort of tallest voice at the microphone who's really trying to use this controversy, and he's doing it masterfully. I mean, honestly, Bill, I was telling you before we started recording this episode, I think Trump is probably like, damn it, that Ted Cruz, he's getting more media exposure than me right now, because of this.
Yeah, it's going to be the what's the next oh my gosh, what did he say now thing that's going to take place. I mean, he ran a presidency on, shock and awe of what is this guy going to say next. It was a traumatic, exciting time, but it would have been an exciting time if he would have been in alignment with things that were valuable to the United States. But he didn't do it for that motive. He stayed close to what his brand is, which is, how can I just keep in front of the press and get acknowledgement and recognition to go my way, and congratulations, you are going to be known for the person who, by getting elected, gave a huge tax break to rich people. That's what you're known for. He was only one vote away from bringing the healthcare system, getting rid of things. He was one vote away from that. He would have been known for that.
If not for the late Senator John McCain.
And he said, well, I'm not going to, there's too many of my people that are going to get crushed by this now. But he still voted for the thing. And he could have,
Well, let's return to the Ted Cruz thing for a moment, because while Ted Cruz on its face, you would think, and I have to admit, I originally thought, oh my gosh, what a blunder. He's, stepped on a landmine. He's self-inflicted a wound, that he's attacking Big Bird, who is this beloved character, who, by the way, has been supportive of vaccines for children since 1972.
Yeah.
And I'm actually one of those first generations, Bill, that was raised on Sesame Street. Sesame Street literally started 6 months or so before I was born. And so I grew up with Sesame Street, and so did each of my kids. And we all love Big Bird among all the other Sesame characters. And so when somebody like a Ted Cruz attacks Big Bird, we're like, huh? Really? And it may seem puzzling, and we may think, oh, well, that guy doesn't have any understanding of what he was doing, who was attacking. However, the school of Bill Stierle has taught me that, in fact, Ted Cruz knows exactly what he's doing, and he's riding this controversy all the way to the advertising bank.
That's the bank that's so important here, is that the politicians have got to start, taking money or capital or resources out of the advertising bank. I've got to create the shock and awe that Trump did, so I can get my name being seen. Ted Cruz and DeSantis are in the front line of things right now. They are the possible 2024, and they're just getting themselves ready for 2024. That's what the two people are doing right now. And they're the ones that are ahead, because the brand damage has been done in the Republican mindset, in the Republican voter, about Democrats being bad. There's damage, not so much in the swing voters, but in the Republican base. The word socialism and communism and have been really just spray painted on the Democratic, chart, on the imagery, that's what this group wants to do, instead of thinking of the party of doing more towards civil rights and equality and trying to create balance in a society by holding a middle class in place. They're not being thought of as that in that way. They're thought of as, oh, you just want to take taxes and waste money spending. It's like, have you ever seen a Republican president spend things? It's like, gosh, do you really need that much military? And just from the thought or the idea, I mean, there's 48 aircraft carriers and we have 24 of them in the world. It's like,
well, the thing is, people don't pay attention to that stuff, but what they do pay attention to is Ted Cruz attacking Big Bird, and then everybody knows who Ted Cruz is. That's the point. See, the fact doesn't matter, as if this doesn't. They're not seeing where their money is being spent and who's getting it. They're not even yelling about Big Bird. It's like, really, that's all your party's got. And so it's really, really troublesome, because when one party steps all the way off the truth and integrity train, all the way off, it's really hard for them to run after the truth and integrity train right now. How are they going to take a step back towards science right now? Think about how difficult that is. No, they can't take a step back towards science. They've got to maintain the path of getting the level of eyeballs. They got to maintain that. Grassley said it the other day. I'd be silly not to take the endorsement of, President Trump, because the voters are with him. I'm where the voters are. Yeah. The integrity left the Republican station, years ago. And this is true. All the establishment Republicans, Chuck Grassley, Mitch McConnell is, the primary case in point. They've just changed their positions on pretty much everything they've needed to.
Gosh, Lindsey Graham. Oh my Lord.
Lindsey Graham. Just to stay in alignment with whatever the Republican base believes at the time. Their integrity means nothing anymore, certainly in the Republican Party. And unfortunately, the Democrats, who at times really do try to stay in integrity, it's kind of like, those are the facts that don't matter. People aren't really paying attention to that. Certainly not the other side, and not all the swing voters. But if you're a Republican politician and you're trying to be the king of the mountain, which is really what they're all trying to do, is climb to the top and be the king of the mountain. You insult somebody like Big Bird and you entice all the media, not just the right-wing media. I mean, I'm sure that Fox News and Newsmax were talking about it too, but NBC, CBS, all the other media and the late night comedians. And that's actually the video that we have in the blog post is from the Late Night with Stephen Colbert. Did a great little musical number at the beginning, which I thought was hilarious. I was laughing so hard when I watched that last night. I was thrilled this morning when I found it on YouTube so I could show you the clip, Bill.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And I'm enjoying that moment, saying, oh, Ted Cruz is such an idiot, until we talked today. And then I'm like, oh,
this no. We got to the same. We go like, Tom, that's not what it was for. It's not Tom Cruise is an idiot. Tom Cruise just got millions of dollars of free advertisement for name recognition against DeSantis. keep your eye on the ball. The ball is that DeSantis has been getting eyeballs because he's been talking against vaccines and killing people in his state. That's what he's getting eyeballs for. If you want a dark way to look at it, the dark way to look at it, he is not a public servant. He's in a public servant position. If there is anybody want to have any outrage about this, he is elected to a public servant, and he is killing the people that that elected him. Yeah. It's really dark. It's really dark, a dark moment.
Well, and in fact, there actually was,
just to get eyeballs.
I saw a stat about that actually, that just to put a number on it, Bill, and I know the facts don't matter, but there was a report that came out just yesterday, and I don't have it in front of me to cite it, but in counties across the United States that where there are more, people that believe in the vaccine, that only 7.8 people per 100,000 have died, recently from the coronavirus. But in counties where people are not getting the vaccine, are not believing in it, it's 25 people per 100,000 have been dying from it. And they're seeing it. They've actually been studying it and seeing it along party lines and party affiliations. You talk about counties that are more blue counties than red counties. And this is the reality of America right now. But you would think life and death would be something that people really care the most about. But like you said, hey, these Republican governors like DeSantis are advocating against mass mandates in schools and against mandated vaccines and against, all sorts of things that are purely health and safety measures.
Right.
And because people are listening to them, people are dying.
Yes.
That's the scary honesty, right?
If there was a hit and run car accident that killed somebody, hit and run.
Yeah.
Right. The car drives away.
Right.
The police would be all over that to go find the car that hit this person and that person got killed. And would it be, it would be a manslaughter charge or whatever the charge would be for killing somebody and running and all the charges that would go with it. How are we going to hold these government officials accountable when, less than half, 45% is okay with that, is okay with a hit and run person because it's their party, it's their person on their team. Well, it's that, it's the person's Republican and I voted for him, so he gets a pass.
Yeah, he's on my team, right?
He's on my team and I'm going to give him a pass. See, if somebody has less of a name recognition, then, and there's not a certain loyalty or belovedness behind or enjoyment, it's in watching this public figure. Well, we're not going to give him a pass. But if there is a certain amount of joy in watching this person, this is how Trump got elected. There was joy in watching him being the big boss and running The Apprentice. There was millions of people that loved The Apprentice because
I was a fan. I watched that show back
because then. You're fired. We're waiting to see who, anticipation. It's all sales, reward, anticipation, uncertainty. Who is going to get fired this week? And what is the good reason why Trump can say you are fired? What's the good reason? And Trump comes up with the reason. The same with, not to put him too much in the same boat, but Simon Cowell on American Idol. Right. Well, I didn't like that. You weren't good. It was kind of average. It didn't really take me. It wasn't extraordinary. Your performance was this and this. And then the other judges are going like, are you going to be kind? He goes like, no, I'm just being truthful from my viewpoint. And people say, well, I can respect that. It's his viewpoint. I might not like it. I don't like what he says, but at least here it comes. He is able to speak up without impunity. No one will give him pushback because he's above the
He's not name calling. He's not,
right.
he's just being honest.
Just being honest. He's not name calling. He's just being honest. No, he was not kind and rude and kind of disrespectful for the effort. Yeah, he's speaking his truth. And I would never say that, because what would people say if I said that? Can you imagine you sitting in the Simon Cowell thing, or you come against Big Bird? Everybody go look like, stay away from Tom at a party. It's like there's Tom spinning his Big Bird propaganda narrative. It's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, I'd be hated. I would lose so many.
Yeah,
friends,
keep Tom's children away from my children, man. So that's the way it would be. And the hard part about it is what does a party do, and what does an individual do when they step so far off of the truth and integrity train, they can't run to catch up with it? And is that what the nation is going to do overall? Are we going to completely step off of the truth and the integrity train and really not be a people of non-accountability? Are we going to be a nation that's not accountable? And I feel disheartened, but we're kind of not. We don't regulate plastics to keep them out of the ocean. We do a military base and we leave all the ammunition and stuff behind and don't clean up after ourselves. We are not a nation of strong. We pretend that we are, but we're not a strong nation of integrity, and we do not pay for mistakes fully. We let other people pay for mistakes, and that's our climate problem. And that's our, I mean, can integrity and accountability come back up and mean something again in politics? I don't know. I'm kind of feeling a little doubtful and skeptical and hesitant about who is going to be accountable. And
I'm in agreement with you, Bill. I'm doubtful and skeptical about that as well. And because of my, experience with you about language and communication, I'm like, damn it, the Democrats are just so bad at marketing. They're so bad at doing exactly the things that, Ted Cruz is doing and Ron DeSantis is doing and Trump has done for years, in terms of, getting the eyeballs and getting people to be aware of them and to like them, regardless of the facts. I've been thinking, wow, we really need somebody who actually does care about integrity and accountability and is a good person who wants to help America, who also is just an incredibly shrewd, brilliant marketer. Because if you're not that, you're not going to win in America.
If you're not that, if you don't create a series of moments that lift you above the others, the series of moments, Barack Obama had a series of moments that lifted him above Hillary Clinton. Series of moments. His first moment is, why didn't we deal with why are we concentrating on Iraq? Why are we not doing it Afghanistan? That's where the terrorists were. And everybody's going like, yes. And then everybody else is trying to follow him then. And then he pivoted again. Then he pivoted again. Then he pivoted again. Stayed above the media, kept in front of, they kept covering. This is what Barack said this time. This is what Obama said this time. This is what Obama says this. Obama. All of a sudden, Clinton started falling.
Oh, and then look what happened to his Republican opponent in the general election, John McCain, when John McCain did not get off of the integrity train. Remember,
right?
He's on that debate, and the woman says, well, he's a Muslim, I can't vote for him. John McCain could have let that hang out there in
Let
the
them
air
hang. All you have to do is
and
let it
not
hang.
have contradicted it, not have agreed with it outright,
That's
but
correct.
let that moment hang there for everybody
Hang.
to wonder and then develop their own doubt and skepticism. He's a Muslim? Oh, I didn't know that. Whatever. John McCain could have just stayed away from it. And instead, he went after truth and integrity and said, no, ma'am. He's not a Muslim. He's just somebody that I happen to disagree with on policy. Boom. John McCain lost the election right there.
Yeah. It's literally moments, and moments like that is that, see, people's limbic brain want to be validated that they're right. It's like trying to have an argument with your parent. It's like, no, they're dealing with their experiences from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They're in those experiences. They're in those past things. All you got to do is put something in front of them that's familiar to that, familiar. And they're going to say, oh yeah, that's true. It's like, no, it's not. I have a cell phone now. It's like, I can look it up now. I could find 15 examples of that, true and false, that kind of, is like, well, it doesn't say it that way. So we do have a bit to go here. I think that if people just remember that to do the best you can, if you're a business owner or a politician, to weave as much integrity and truth in as you can and try to make that the impacting item. Learn how to take truth and make truth a home run. Learn how to make integrity a home run. Swing for the fence with it. And when you do, you will have those moments where you rise above your opponent. And try not to take the opposite, which is, wait to get walked and try to get walked enough. And all of a sudden you get on base enough. And all of a sudden your name's out there and out there. Now, yeah, you don't have any integrity or truth or respect, but hey, you got the votes. So it's going to be interesting, Tom, to see this next run over the next year. And as we come up to the midterms, it's going to be really interesting to see the campaigns, and it'll give us a ton to talk about, as well as look at ways that we can be more creative and more have a greater impact with our own media imprint. So
sounds good. Well, it will certainly be something to watch. I look forward to that.
All right. Thanks a million, Tom.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.